Football is finally back. Week 1 of the 2025-26 NFL season kicks off with one of its most heated rivalries. The Detroit Lions travel to Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers. For the Lions, this is not just a season opener. They are out to prove that they are here to stay after back-to-back North Division titles. They have a powerful offense led by Jared Goff and so many weapons, and they are returning several key stars defensively. They have true Super Bowl aspirations in the new season. On the other side, the Green Bay Packers put the NFL world on notice as they made the blockbuster trade of the offseason, acquiring Micah Parsons and shouting out to the world that they are also out for a Super Bowl. New coordinators for Detroit, a revamped Packers defense, and a division rivalry. This has much more than just a Week 1 feel, but a playoff atmosphere in September. Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Johnny Gaz. Thank you for returning for another video. We are going to kick off this season's previews with a fantastic Week 1 matchup. The Detroit Lions will head to Lambeau. This is a game of the week, September 7th, 4:25 kickoff. What a great matchup. Let's go through the key matchups from Lions-Packers. I will talk about the X factors. I'll tell you what the difference in this game will be, and at the end of the video, I will give you my final score and prediction, so make sure to stick around. Let's go.
They are. Goff looking for him, throwing for him. It is caught, and he's in. Touchdown.
Let's kick this game preview off with this week's headlines. We have to start with Green Bay making one of the biggest trades in recent NFL memory, landing defensive end Micah Parsons in exchange from the Dallas Cowboys. And although he was limited last year, he had 12 sacks in only 13 games and will certainly change the pass rush for this Packers defense. He is dealing with some back issues and will have to undergo an epidural if he is able to play in this Week 1 matchup. I will keep you posted here on the channel. The Packers also are dealing with other injuries, along with Parsons, who was listed officially as limited on Wednesday's practice report. Also have safety Zane Anderson, center Elkin Jenkins, defensive end Baron Sorrell, receiver Dontavian Wicks, and Savion Williams. These are not new injuries for the Packers, and again, we'll have to see as we get closer to game time what their official designations will be. It did also come out today that wide receiver Jaden Reed was also limited at practice with a foot injury. So it appears the Green Bay Packers will be limited with their offensive weapons entering this matchup with the Lions. Despite all the injuries, the Packers truly now have Super Bowl aspirations, with Jordan Love coming into his prime, Micah Parsons now anchoring this defense, and Matt LaFleur will adjust the scheme. Odds makers in Vegas have even adjusted the Packers as slight NFC North favorites despite the Detroit Lions' recent dominance. For the Detroit Lions on the injury report, they will be without defensive tackle Aleem McNeil, as well as edge Josh Pascal, linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez, and young rookie guard Miles Frazier, as they are all on the reserve list, again required to miss the first 4 weeks. As far as the Week 1 designations, the Lions did not practice on Wednesday of this week. However, they were without running back Sione Vaki, as well as linebacker Trevor Nowaski in the previous practice, and it is unknown at this time what their true status will be as we get closer to the Week 1 matchup with the Packers. They did have a scare with wide receiver Isaac Tesla as he appeared on the injury report earlier in the week. However, head coach Dan Campbell did come out and say this was due to illness, and he is on recovery and expected to play in this matchup with the Packers. The Lions named their team captains for the 2025-26 season, and for the 5th consecutive year, quarterback Jared Goff and linebacker Alex Anzalone were named captains. For the 3rd consecutive year, both Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell and Hutchinson in his 2nd consecutive year. New to the team captains will be linebacker Grant Stewart, who has really made a presence on this team even in one offseason, again as a special teams ace and in that linebacker room, but also returning kicks for the Lions, which we may see in this opening matchup in Green Bay. And finally, all eyes will be on the returning Aiden Hutchinson as he recovers and finally takes the field for the first time since that devastating injury in Week 5 last year in Dallas. He was off to an amazing start in 2024 and will begin his campaign for the 2025 Defensive Player of the Year in Lambeau Field. These are what I believe will be the key matchups in this Week 1 tilt between Lions-Packers. We have to start with Micah Parsons, assuming he's going to play in this matchup against the Detroit tackles and overall the blocking scheme. We know Penei Sewell, the All-Pro, and Pro Bowler Taylor Decker are up to the challenge. Will the interior of this Detroit offensive line be equally up to the challenge, not only against Micah Parsons, but the entire front for the Green Bay Packers? Detroit's plan will really evolve around neutralizing Parsons. And again, I think he'll be limited not only because of his injury, but he has only limited time with the Packers in this scheme to get acclimated. I would expect the Lions to lean on their rushing attack, quick passes, screens, outside zone runs, chip blocks from the tight ends. A lot of that the Lions will already do in their scheme, and obviously will highlight that against Parsons in the Green Bay Packers. One of the other big matchups sort of leans into that, and that's the Lions' rushing attack against the Packers' front seven. We talked about the effectiveness of Micah Parsons in the pass rush, but along with some other things that have happened in this Green Bay offseason, but ultimately Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles, will lead the way for the Lions, especially early on in the season. I think as things come together for this Lions offense, you will probably see them rely on those two backs early and often. I think the Green Bay linebackers, Edge Cooper, Quay Walker, will have a big task ahead of them to contain those two backs. Jahmyr Gibbs averaged 5.6 yards per carry in 2024, top 5 back in the NFL. And David Montgomery had 12 TDs last season. So again, they spread the wealth between those two guys. Along with this retooled offensive line, again, I think the Green Bay Packers front seven may be in for a long afternoon. On the flip side, there are a lot of questions on this Lions defensive line, and they're really going to have to hold their own against Jordan Love and this Packers offense. They will lean on Josh Jacobs in this running game, and they really didn't give up a ton of sacks last year. And Detroit, although they had a decent pressure rate and were good on third downs, they really were not great at actually getting to the quarterback and finishing with sacks. So can the Lions create pressure not only on the outside but on the interior with rookie Tyleik Williams and, of course, the returning Aiden Hutchinson on the outside to be able to make the ultimate difference in this game? Now let's talk about the X factor, starting with the Green Bay Packers. And I think for them to go anywhere in 2025-26, it's all going to start with quarterback Jordan Love, who at 27 really has all the pressure now on his shoulders as they've revamped the defense with that addition of Micah Parsons. I know he was injured often in 2024. They also had one of the higher drop rates. And in Week 1, they're going to have some issues in the wide receiver room. It appears they are a little bit banged up. But again, it now is on Jordan Love to take this team to the next level. And I think he's going to have to rely a little bit more on his legs. Smartly, of course. He doesn't want to put himself in a situation where he continues to get injured. But like Patrick Mahomes, you have to have the threat of that run from your quarterback position for it truly to be effective. Especially in this Week 1 matchup, they'll have to lean on that, the run game, Josh Jacobs, and can he be efficient enough to overcome the pressure of this Lions defensive line? On defense for the Packers, it has to be Micah Parsons, and I don't think he's going to have enough time under his belt and really get enough time on the field to be an ultimate game changer here. But certainly with this addition, the blockbuster trade, everything that surrounds it, there's going to be a lot of eyes and focus there. And the Lions will not ignore that. I think they already have a strategy for a player like his caliber, but certainly with the flashlight being shined on him in this Week 1 game of the week, the Lions will pay extra special attention. So again, with that limited snap production that I expect from him Week 1, I don't think he'll put up gaudy numbers, and we'll have to be on the lookout for his true health. Can he continue on through the remainder of the season? Again, we'll keep our eyes on that and see how effective he is in this matchup Week 1. In the Packers secondary, Xavier McKinney has 17 career interceptions, multiple with the Packers, really is the leader of that defensive backfield for Green Bay, and he's going to have to come up big. I don't know if the Packers have quality enough cornerbacks to keep up with all of the offensive weapons. And in this new Lions Johnny Morton offensive scheme, the Lions may try to throw the football down the field. It could give Xavier McKinney more opportunities to make plays on the football. Look for him to be involved in this Week 1 matchup. X factors for the Lions usually early on in the season is pretty simple because they don't play any of their starters in the preseason. In most cases, the offenses come out slow, And that's across the NFL, but the Lions are able to lean on the strength, which has typically been their offensive line in this rushing attack. So X factors against the Packers, I'm going to say is David Montgomery in this matchup, only because it's going to be one of those Lambeau afternoon type games where they're going to ground and pound. I think they're going to want to see what kind of mauling they can do on the interior of their O-line when they really need to have tough yards. And that's usually when they turn to David Montgomery. That does not discount Jahmyr Gibbs' explosiveness, and you may see Jahmyr get involved in the passing game, but if we're talking true X factors for this Week 1 matchup against the Packers, I'm going to go to David Montgomery and lean on Knuckles for this one. For the Lions on the defensive side, you have to look at Aiden Hutchinson. Again, returning from that injury, was off to such a hot start in 2024. And if he's going to have a Defensive Player of the Year type season in 25-26, it all starts at Lambeau Field in Week 1. Now, the offensive line for the Packers, although they've been decent as far as sacks, they have had to do some shuffling, especially at the center position. So how healthy will they be at game time, and can they contain the aggression that will be Aiden Hutchinson here in Week 1? And again, in these matchups where you lean on your bread and butter, the things that you can rely on, the surefire things, I'm going to list Amon-Ra St. Brown as an ultimate X factor. He's become the ultimate pro, the hardest working player on this Lions team, and he sets the tone for pretty much everything between himself and Penei Sewell, the right tackle. Again, he's building off of all pro seasons, finished up 2024 with 115 receptions, 1,263 yards, and a career-high 12 touchdowns, played in all 17 games, and is really the Iron Man for this team. So if you're going to lean on anything in a Week 1 matchup in Lambeau, I would bet on Amon-Ra St. Brown. The difference in this game, Week 1 matchup, Lions going to Lambeau to face the Packers, comes down to three things: efficiency, run game control, and coaching. And when I'm talking about efficiency, I'm talking about third downs and in the red zone. That's so key in these early matchups in the NFL season. Detroit was 48% on third downs in 2024. That was second in the NFL. But the Packers on the other side were very stout. And this Jeff Hafley defense is getting better and better. You add in Micah Parsons, and you're going to have a much more formidable pass rush with this upgraded defense. The question will be the run defense for the Packers, and that's where I get into run game control. Ultimately, David Montgomery may be the X factor that I talked about, and a key matchup is this Lions rushing attack against the Packers front seven. If the Lions are able to control time of possession, are able to continue to run the football, turn and hand the ball to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs as much as they want, they will win this football game. On the other side, the Packers have ability to do the same thing with Josh Jacobs and their rushing attack. And if Jordan Love remains efficient and uses his legs in a smart way to control the clock, again, the Packers can also take over this football game. Ultimately, this may come down to coaching. The Lions are bringing in new coordinators on both the offensive and defensive side of the football. This may bring some variety to the attack, or this could mean some growing pains. And will Green Bay and their experienced coaching staff, led by Matt LaFleur, take advantage of it in this Week 1 matchup? The Lions actually open up as road dogs in this game at Lambeau, with the Packers favored by 2.5 points currently, and the over-under is set at 47.5 points. I believe the Lions' continuity on offense and their running game ultimately makes the difference here in this Week 1 matchup against the Packers. Jared Goff is truly efficient, and he can remain efficient if the interior of this Lions offensive line can stand tall against this pass rush of the Green Bay Packers. But ultimately, if the Lions can go back to their rushing attack in any case, which they've proven they can do, very similar to what they did last year, Week 1 against the Rams, they can win any sort of football game. They actually hold a pretty big advantage against the Packers recently. They've won their last 3 matchups in Lambeau, and Dan Campbell seems to have Matt LaFleur's number currently. I believe that will continue even with the addition of Micah Parsons here in this Week 1 matchup for 2025. So I do have the Lions winning this football game on the strength of their rushing attack and the fact that they are returning key players defensively. I think Aiden Hutchinson makes a true difference and is the motor for this Lions defensive attack. And I believe it starts the true growth of their defense in the new season. So I have the Lions, again, winning this football game, a score of 28-21. The Lions would be starting off the season at 1-0 and the Packers 0-1.
One timeout. Gotta get something down the field.
Love, it's picked up. Now rolling out for the first time, and he throws an interception. It's picked off all the way down, and scoring for the Lions. It's Joseph.
This game really feels like it sets the tone for the NFC North early on this season. The Lions trying to prove that they still have it, while the Packers trying to show that this trade was the true difference maker in their run towards the Super Bowl. Either way, it will be a fantastic matchup to watch in Week 1. I appreciate you guys returning for another video. Let me know down in the comments, who do you have in this matchup? Lions versus Packers, Week 1, game of the week, September 7th, 4:25 kickoff. Hit me up in those comments down below. What is your final score predictions for this fantastic Week 1 football game? I so much appreciate you being involved in the channel. Make sure to hit that like button if you dig the vibe here at Johnny Gaz Sports. If you have not already, I would love it if you consider becoming a subscriber. We're on the road to 4,000 now, thanks to you guys. And there is a membership option available. That's where I do all my live game play-by-play reactions and a ton of other fun stuff. But there's always free content here and at any of your socials if you search for @JohnnyGazSports. More than anything else, make sure to take care of yourself and your mental health. That's more important than anything. I want to make sure you come back and see me on future videos. Have a fantastic rest of your week and weekend. Enjoy the first week of NFL football. Go Lions.